Okay, here we are with our basic Radians with some basic mods. Here we have a night flying fuselage and then just a regular one next to it. If you can notice the fiberglass tape, it's very important that it gets installed from approximately this area right underneath the cowling all the way back to about right here. Well, you can see mine ends right here. If you look very carefully, you can see it. Usually I put some colored vinyl just to cover it up, but my last few fuselages I haven't even bothered. But anyway, that's really important because what happens is the grain is very large and coarse, and it's going to open up if you're going to do a fast pull out from a dive, something of that sort. So it's a common failure point. Also, another common failure point is the nose just getting hacked right off. And what happens is it all starts off with debris, mud, entering these little areas where the folding prop moves. Even in the nose cone, the access areas for the screws. You can see the dark dots there. Those are where the screws are. If these get loaded with mud, that'll be a problem. It'll throw it off balance and then basically it'll rip the whole nose off. What compounds the problem, you see the dark little screw right there at the corner of the cowling. Okay, I'll show you the other one. Oops. It's right there. It's probably not in focus. I'm sorry. This is just on my cell phone. My wife's got my good camera. And the third one. These are latexed into the foam. They're called hard mounts. And the latex just doesn't really hold it very well. So you'll be constantly inspecting these to make sure they're snug. And if they do fail or seem to be loose, just go ahead and pull the latex off. After you pull it out of the well, first off, you're going to have to remove the nose cone with those two screws I was going to tell you. Pull the prop off and then remove these three screws. That'll take the whole cowling off and everything. Actually, it's a great way to change motors between Radians if you can maintenance and maintain these hard mounts. With the cowling off, you'll be able to see that the hard stays are right underneath it, pressed into the foam. What you'll notice is that they'll come right out if they're loose, and they will loosen up. Just go ahead and take the latex off, replace it with some 5-minute epoxy, which works great. Now, this is a night flyer, and some people have been asking about the night flyer thing. Well, I use the foil mylar LEDs from Hobby King. They're pretty cheap. They're only anywhere from $4 to $6 for a meter length. And so here's one of my leads that comes off the inside, and that's for the wings. And that just sort of just flies around there, and that connects up to the wings, which also have a 2-pin JST. Actually, these are the 3-pin. I could get them polarized. Well, pop this off here real fast. You'll see that how the ESC is laid out. The battery wire is basically going in the wrong direction, and of course that overlaps the top, and the battery sits right in there. People can run up to 1800s with no problem at all. Just adjust it in there to whatever CG you think works good. For 1300, I leave about maybe a 1/4 inch or flush with the back area here for the 1300. It just slips right in. I push it as far back as I can. But what I did is on the excuse me for holding the camera so crazy. I'm in the middle of a build here, and of course that takes forever. And then also a log build log on RC Groups. You notice that we have the two finer wires here coming right off the battery plug, and that's 12 volts. Well, these Hobby King 1-meter strips run on 12 volts really nice. So they're just paralleled out, one for each side of the wing, and then they're also just poked right on through. 2 sets, one for the side LEDs and one for the wing on each side. So people ask, well, how do you bend these? They're not too hard to bend. You just kind of raise the corner up, make a kink in it, and they'll turn pretty good. They'll turn pretty easy. and just use Mylar packing tape. So there's a problem also with the boom wanting to wag its tail. It's a pretty thin boom, and so there is a piece of wood sunk underneath that piece of tape underneath the underbelly, but that's for vertical. For horizontal stiffness, basically I just have used, and this is in my other plane that's still on the shelf here, but it's buried. It's a piece of, I think it was 1 by 8 millimeter carbon strap, and I just cut a slit in there and slid it right on in and closed it up with some epoxy, and it's been great. So yeah, Radians are a blast. It's for the bang for buck. You know, you really can't do any better, and it's a great beginner's plane. And basically, there you go on how the wings are tied together. Top LEDs, bottom LEDs, 2 wires each, and they get paralleled into the 3-pin mini Deans. So what I was going to show you is, you know, this is the one with that behind the, you can see it there, that black thing that runs down the length all the way up to just behind the wing. That provides quite a bit of stiffness. This is also what they call as a stabulator. It runs off a bell crank where the whole horizontal, it's actually a formed wing. You can actually see it. It's made from 1/2-inch foam board, and I just formed it in order to make a flying stabilizer, and the whole thing moves on this pivot. You can see. Now, also, I'm going to show you another upgrade here real quick, which is fairly important. This is, like I say, I think the number 2 most popular failure, the importance of failure. This mod here over the wing with the fiberglass tape is number 1. This is number 2. You want to get rid of those tiny little rod stays that Park Zone gives you, and go ahead and go with a decent size, like a 40 size brass piece with a 1/16 inch pin. They're pretty well available. They're not that hard to find. If you were looking at the ones that came with it, you probably wouldn't even be able to see them. They're so small, and they're made of brass, the screws, and just even with thumb tightening, they can break right off. It's like a 0-120 thread. So we're running a 440 here, so that's plenty stout. So that's about it for basic Radian stuff. I got a ton of Radian stuff. I started quite a few flyers out, on the first plane being the Radian, and I think it's a great choice because it's just a loitering plane. There's really no plan on flying it. There's no circuit or pattern if you don't want. You just kind of park it up there and get used to what a very slow reacting RC plane acts like. And if there's any thermaling at all, you can fly for, over half hour more on just a single 1300. So anyway, hope you enjoying your new Radian if you got one, and thanks for watching the video. Okay, and also this is Doug 43851E on RC Groups. Have a great day.